What exactly did Ham do to his father Noah? At the end of Genesis 9, we have this strange narrative where Noah gets drunk. He's lying naked inside his tent, and his son Ham comes in and sees the nakedness of his father, and then goes outside and tells his two brothers about it. Now, we'll cover more of the narrative in just a minute, but do know that this story has led to some speculations with regard to exactly what Ham did to his father. There are theories out there that Ham actually castrated his father, or sodomized his father, or committed incest with his mother while Noah was passed out drunk. Now, you might be asking yourself, where did these theories come from? Well, I'll explain in just a minute, but know that these theories are actually pretty common, both in kind of the popular material you'll see on social media, as well as some scholarly publications. So I'm going to go through this text, and I'm going to explain these various theories, and I'm going to put forward my interpretation. We'll also deal with why Noah ended up cursing not his son, Ham, but Ham's son, so Noah's grandson, Canaan. So to begin with, let's just take a read through this text. This is after the flood, after the whole ark story. This is at the very end of the whole Noah narrative. We'll begin reading with Genesis 9, verse 20. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." He also said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant." So that's the story itself. We know that Noah got drunk. He was passed out naked in his tent when his son came in and saw the nakedness of his father, went out and told his two brothers, and they then walked backward into the tent to cover their father's nakedness. Those are the main components of the story. And then when Noah awoke, that's when he cursed his grandson, Ham's son, Canaan. So, first of all, let's deal with why people come up with these theories with regard to exactly what Ham did to his dad. Well, the theories with regard to Noah being castrated by his son or being sodomized by his son are mainly derived from various components of Jewish exegesis throughout the centuries, some in the Midrash and some in the Talmud. There's very little, if any, textual basis for these. Most of these are trying to explain exactly what that statement means when Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him. And these theories will propound that, well, he knew that he had castrated him or he knew that he had sodomized him. But again, there's really no biblical basis for this whatsoever. It's just trying to explain really what would have led to such a seemingly radical response to what had been done to him, the cursing of Canaan. So those theories don't seem to hold any exegetical water whatsoever. Now, there is a theory that Noah, when he was drunk, that his son Ham committed incest with his mother, with Noah's wife. Now, why would people think that? They think that because in other parts of Scripture, in chiefly Leviticus chapter 18, there's a Hebrew euphemism to uncover the nakedness of someone. And this euphemism means to commit incest. So if you look at Leviticus 18, verse 7 and 8, here's what we read. "You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father, which is the nakedness of your mother. She's your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. It is your father's nakedness." So here what's being talked about is don't uncover your father's nakedness. And what that means is you're actually uncovering your mother's nakedness. You are then committing incest with your mother when you uncover your father's nakedness. So that's what that euphemism means. So what people will do is they'll take that euphemism of uncovering your father's nakedness and they will import that into Genesis chapter 9 to explain why Noah ended up cursing Canaan. And the theory is that while Noah was passed out drunk, his son Ham came in, committed incest with his mother, and then when Noah found this out, that's when he pronounced a curse upon Canaan. Now, there's two chief weaknesses of this theory. One is that Leviticus 18 uses the language of uncovering the nakedness, not seeing the nakedness. Uncovering the nakedness of your father is a euphemism for committing incest with your mother, not just seeing the nakedness of your father. But the main weakness of the incest theory is this: that same language of seeing the nakedness of the father, which some people take euphemistically, occurs quite literally in the very same narrative. What did the two brothers do? What did Shem and Japheth do after their brother told them about what he had seen? They took a garment, laid it on their shoulders, walked backward, and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. Now, that is to be understood quite literally. They did not see their father lying there, passed out, naked. Now, if that is literal, they literally did not see, there's no euphemism here at all. They didn't see their father's nakedness. If that is literal, then it's certainly literal in the very previous verse. You see, you can't import Leviticus 18 in this euphemism into the narrative and then automatically switch in the very next verse to saying, now this is literal, but that's euphemistic. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way that proper exegesis, proper interpretation takes place. Context matters, and the context here is strongly against the incest theory and strongly for the very straightforward, literal reading of this narrative. Ham went in, and what did he see? He simply saw his father naked. But rather than showing filial respect and honoring his father by covering him up, he goes outside and he blabs about it to his two brothers. At least that's the way that went out and spoke to his brothers. That's the way this is commonly understood. He didn't simply report the facts, but he spoke ill of his father in speaking to his brothers about their father's nakedness. Whereas the two brothers, Shem and Japheth, acted with respect. They took a garment, they walked backward so they wouldn't see their father naked, and they covered him, thus honoring their father. So that is what I consider to be the most straightforward understanding of exactly what's going on here with this narrative. There's no incest involved, there's no sex involved whatsoever. Instead, this is a son disrespecting his father. Now, this leads us to the second question, which is a bit more complicated in my opinion. Why, when Noah woke up, discovered what his son had done to him, why, instead of cursing Ham, did he curse Canaan? Well, there's various theories about this. One is that Canaan was actually involved in this, that it wasn't just Ham who went into the tent, but that Ham and his son Canaan were both in the tent, so that son and father saw Noah naked there, and thus both were complicit in this act of dishonoring Noah. That's one theory. Now, the problem with that theory is that it simply is not stated that way. Maybe it did happen, and maybe it's just not reported that way, but you have to make certain assumptions with regard to the silence of the text if you say that Canaan was also involved in this, and that's why he was cursed. I think a better explanation is that Noah was speaking here prophetically. This, by the way, interesting fact, these are the only recorded words of Noah. All of this narrative about him, there's not a single recorded word about Noah. So the very first recorded word of Noah in the biblical text is cursed. Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be to his brother. So I think what's going on here is that Noah is speaking prophetically. He's not simply speaking of what's going to happen to his grandson, but he's speaking with a long perspective of what's going to happen to the descendants of his grandson, of course, the Canaanites. So if you look at Genesis 9, not in isolation, but in the bigger picture of the canonical story, of course, it's the Canaanites. It's the descendants of Canaan who, as it were, live down to their forefathers' reputation. They act dishonorably toward the Lord. They perpetrate all kinds of evil. And they are, of course, the ones who give so much trouble to the Israelites. And so what happens is Noah speaks prophetically this curse upon not just the individual Canaan, but upon all his descendants, the Canaanites, so that they will be a servant of servants, relegated to this servile status beneath the other brothers. So I think Noah is speaking prophetically here with the bigger picture of the salvation story in view. So that's my reading of Genesis chapter 9, that this is a really straightforward case of paternal disrespect, which leads to a curse, which has ramifications for later biblical history. Of course, feel free to agree, feel free to disagree, and let me know in the comments what you think. But if the video has been helpful to you, then give me a like and give me a follow and share it with your friends. And I pray that God's peace may be yours in abundance. Thanks for watching.